Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for another in our series, A Story to Tell. Today we have with us Mr. Omar Melbrook, who started out as a security officer in the security field and worked his way up to now having his own company, Melbrook Security Services Company. And he just want to walk you through that journey. Before we begin, just to remind you, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please to do so. Remember to like and share our video and just stick and stay with us and continue to grow with the TTN family. Let's get straight into it. Mr. Melbrook, good evening. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Good evening. How are you?
Good to have you. In these difficult times, it is a blessing to be alive one more day.
Indeed, it is.
In, Indeed. So we're just gonna start with who exactly is Omar Melbrook? Where were you born, and tell us a little about your family background, if you have any siblings and stuff.
Well, I'm from a district known as Hatfield in Mandeville, Manchester. I am the second of two children. My mom has two of us, and I am the seventh of 10 for my father.
Oh,
So that's the way it
your
is.
father was
And
a little busy.
still busy, eh?
Okay.
Right. And as I say, I'm from a humble district known as Hadfield, that's in Manchester.
hmm
Right. And
Okay. So do you remember like the first school you went to back in your district, like primary school, basic school?
yes, I started at a school known as Ward's Park. Ward's
Mm-hmm.
Park. And then I'm move on from there to Hatfield Primary and Junior High.
Mm-hmm.
And after which I went to the St. Elizabeth Technical High School.
Okay,
So
States
that's
graduate, a proud graduate of States.
definitely work on
How
integrity.
okay. How were you as a child growing up back in like primary school? Were you more like focused? Or you give a lot of trouble and waste out all of the time?
In primary school, I would say I wasn't that focused. I
Yeah.
wasn't that focused, but moving on into high school,
Mm-hmm.
when I reached steps, then I started to focus more then.
Mm-hmm.
But in primary school, I was up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Still give a little bit of trouble at steps, but was more focused there.
Yeah. And how was life growing up in your district? Um, was it difficult in terms of surviving and water, sanitary conveniences, all of those stuff?
Lucky, I would say that I was lucky enough that I would say I was a little bit more than average.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had my parents had a small farm, so I had like cows, we had chickens, my father had a farm with yams and stuff. So, I was a little more than the average. We had a decent enough house, so
Mm-hmm.
things weren't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best, but average.
So
I give thanks for how I started.
your father was into farming?
He was into farming as well. He's a ex-member of the JDF. He was in security as well, but he had a farm going
Mm-hmm.
along. As a matter of fact, he still has a farm. He's 76 now, and he still has a farm going.
Okay, he's still alive. Give thanks for
He's
that.
Yeah, he's still up and running.
Give
Both
thanks
parents
for
are
that.
still up and running.
Okay, so what year did you graduate from States, and what were your options based on your school exam passes and thing when you were leaving States? What were your options then?
I left States in the year 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my intention was to join the JCF immediately. That's what I wanted to do. But my mother didn't want to have any of that. Of course, my father would want me to join the JDF instead of the JCF.
Mm-hmm.
But I was encouraged by my uncle that it is good to have a trade. And so I applied to the Portmore College of Construction, which then was Portmore Art Academy. I
Mm-hmm.
did a year there where I did a course in multi-skill construction.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little bit of carpentry, a little bit of electrician, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I started to look at things differently because I met some persons there who, ironically, they was in security and I was up with them sometimes at night. So I guess that's where it started from. Even
Mm-hmm.
though I could have gone a different channel, but that's the way it should have been, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So you spent about 2 years there at Portmore Heart?
Just about a year and 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
almost 2 years, yeah.
Okay, and where you went from there?
From there, I worked shortly. I did working experience with West Indies Home Contractors, Wicon,
Mm-hmm.
and after finishing, I did around 6 months with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, so you got to utilize the skills that you
I
acquired
yeah,
from.
I started and I utilized, and then I would say in mid that, so we're about entering into 2004 thereabout.
Mm-hmm.
I After that I did some construction work with my uncles because I have two uncles who they are in construction.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some work with them up until around 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So so you I take it that you had moved from the country come into
Yeah,
Kingston.
I was in St. Catherine,
Okay.
Portmore to be specific.
Okay, and you're living on your own now, or you were just staying with a family
I
member
was
or a
with
friend?
family friend. I was with family friend, and at one time I was with family as well. So I was always,
Mm-hmm.
around persons who I know then. I wasn't fully on my own.
Mm-hmm. So how was life in Kingston versus what you has used to back home?
Yeah, I would say it was okay, because I was excited to be in the city, so to speak. I was excited to be in the city. So, I really, I enjoy the city life because I like to be, moving. This city is fast, so I enjoyed the
Mm-hmm.
city a lot.
Okay. So you left from construction and went into the security
To the
industry,
field of security. Yes, I did.
and where was the first place you worked in that, and how was that?
The first place I worked was at Trial Club, and that's in Hanover.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I started with, it was the Atlas Group of companies. I did the training in Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
After completing training, Evelyn, they sent us to Montego Bay. I believe I was going to work there. Then they moved us from Montego Bay to Hopewell, and I was placed at Trial. My first duty, I can't forget, it was at night. I reach on the location around 7:30. My first time doing security, they bring me at a lonely spot and tell me to watch out for who coming. Try to get me scared. My first experience was,
Can
I
imagine.
can't forget that night. That night was, I'd never closed my eye for a second. I was up right through.
That was probably the one of the longest nights of your life.
And it was, trust me, it was the longest night. Every sound I hear, I was
Yes.
looking. Yeah,
Oh,
but I give thanks for that experience.
okay. And how long you stayed with the Atlas Group?
I stayed with Atlas for just about a year.
Mm-hmm.
But lucky enough for me, on my fifth night working, the security manager was driving past on a road that he wasn't supposed to. I didn't know who this person was, but I was following the instructions given to me that the speed limit is supposed to be, I believe it was around 30, because of course guest was on the property. And this gentleman was going fast, and I went out in the road and stopped him, spoke to him rough. Then he came out of the vehicle, asked me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I introduced myself to him, and he turned to me and said, "Well, I am the security manager, but I'm glad for the way how you handled
Yeah.
that." And he drove up.
Okay.
And then I was called in the office the next morning.
Yes.
In myself now, I figured that I did
In
something
trouble.
wrong.
Yes.
I figured I was going home, but only to told that the manager recommended that I be moved from night shift to morning shift and be trained for the main gate.
That's
So,
very good.
so that was my experience. I went straight to the main gate after that. So,
Mm-hmm.
right. So it started here. I went to the main gate. I did my time. And then I went back to Mandeville shortly. I left the Atlas Group, went to Mandeville for around 6 months with Ranger, then now Hawkeye. And during that time, I did some work for a lady who had an employment agency. So I did some close protection work following her in Kingston, all around to recruit persons for Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing that there was an opportunity there and I was already in the security industry, I utilized the opportunity, and in 2008, November, I left for Trinidad.
Okay. So this is a whole new paradigm shift. Even
Whole
though it's
new,
in the
everything shift.
same industry, but it's a new
But
country.
yes, and everything was different there. But I always say that I was lucky, because I remember I went to Trinidad the uh, Tuesday night. The Wednesday morning, I went to the office because I already lined up the job, seeing that I was with the lady who was recruiting persons. So things was in place already. I went to the office the Wednesday morning, and persons was in training at the time. Trinidadians were in training at the class. And after I gave them details, they bring me and they fit me with my uniform, send me with a driver to take my ID, and ask the driver to bring me home to get ready for work. And no, I didn't do one day in the classroom, not
That's
even a
good.
day in the classroom.
That's good. That's good.
Right. And my first duty was at Trinidad Oil Company.
Yes.
My first duty was there, the night, the Wednesday night, I can't forget. And I
You're
doubled
going
the
back to
Thursday
night shift
morning.
now.
Yeah, I doubled into the Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my first duty was a double. I can't forget that. And the morning they send my breakfast out because they had a different policy from what I was used to. And they
Mm-hmm.
sent that thing known as doubles. I sent it back. I don't know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
And they organized something else. But it was a good experience though. It was a good start because I did a double. I surpassed everyone else now. Everyone wanted to know who this person was because he didn't do the class and he went to the oil company, which was a top location. So everybody was trying to wonder who I
Who
was,
is who is this new guy?
Who is this new person?
Mm-hmm. So you were
But
aligned to a security company while in Trinidad, or it still fall under the lady that was doing the recruiting?
well, she was the person who lined up the job, but it was a different it was a company that has nothing to do with her per
Okay.
se. She was sending persons there, and I was with her, so I looked for the best one and I organized. So that's how I went straight to work because everything was in place before leaving Jamaica. I ensured that I put things in place before.
Okay. What was the name of that firm in Trinidad?
The first firm I worked with was SCSL, Security Escort Services Limited.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that was the first company I worked.
Okay. And How did you get adjusted to that new life in Trinidad? You got a house to stay and stuff, or did that transitionary period work out?
Well, let's put it this way. I was excited leaving, believing to myself that yes, things are going to be smooth running. It wasn't because the first night after I started to drive from the airport and we went on some road, I started to ask myself if it's still the Jamaica, some,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
some back road because it was looking the same like home and I was wondering, and I went at a spot, the house that I went first. It was a sort of old house, but then I adjusted quickly and tell myself that I am here for a purpose and I have to focus on the reason why I was there. And in this space of 2 weeks, I had a place for myself. I worked myself around, quick and fast, meet persons, and I had a more comfortable place than what I went to first. But
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Trinidad is pretty much like Jamaica, if you
Yeah,
ask.
hardly any
Hard,
difference.
hardly any difference.
Okay. And how long you spent at that company in Trinidad?
SCSL, I did just about 2 years, just about 2 years at SCSL.
Mm-hmm,
And then I, of course, at this time, I know the country more. I understand the different companies more. And so then I applied for a company that was paying better and that was much better than the one that I was in. And I was successful in getting into that company. And I would say when I joined that company, it is G4S Group, and the G4S Group, they operate in over 200 countries. It's a large group.
mm-hmm,
And getting in that group is when I would say my security experience begin to change
mm-hmm.
because I entered the group. I worked at Scotiabank, I work at Microsoft, and that's the Microsoft office for the Caribbean. And I was precepted as an estate constable as well. Precepted mean that I was an estate constable or estate police. I was armed,
Mhm,
one, and I had the rights of arresting once you're on my location. So I didn't have to call the police once you're on my location.
mhm.
The authority was given or is given to us as estate constables to carry out whatever needs to be done.
Okay, so are there is that concept um available in Jamaica? We practice that here in Jamaica as well?
No, we don't, because the EPA, which is the Estate Police Association, acts as a union. So security officers are better represented in Trinidad than in Jamaica. Even though in Jamaica we have the PSRA, but they just act as the licensing body. They don't represent the officer in terms of a union.
Union. Okay, and lobby. They don't do any
Right?
form of
No,
lobbying.
they don't do that. We just pay them, and that is it. We just pay to operate, and that is it. Nothing
Oh,
else.
okay. So how long you stayed in Trinidad overall, and why did you decide to leave?
Trinidad, it
And
was
when you left? Yes.
Trinidad almost 10 years, almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Why I decided to leave, that's a whole story by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that I had a child here, so my baby mother,
Yes.
she she realized that things wasn't going the way she wanted. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. Yes.
And then
Yes.
she tried to put some things there, and I say to myself, the best thing to do now
Yes.
to go home
Is to go
because
home.
this can cause a whole lot of problems. So
Mm-hmm.
I decided to cut off things and come back home because I was saying to myself, I I was always good home in terms of I didn't run away from home then, so I can always
Yeah,
come back
you're
home.
also welcome back home.
Right. So I spent some time organize myself, put things together, and then I came back to Jamaica.
Okay. So when you came back now, how you get uh readjusted to life back in Jamaica in terms of job and housing and stuff?
It was hard to get readjusted because I went back. No matter where I go, my house is always in Mandeville. I always tell people that.
Mm-hmm.
Mandeville, I'm yard. It doesn't matter where I go. So I went back home, of course, and I spent some time looking around because I was thinking about more than one thing. I wanted to go in the taxi field. I wanted to do all type of things. I wasn't settled fully on what I wanted. And I remember at night I was scrolling through my phone and I saw where a security company was recruiting. And I did it on my phone, just applied. And I received, that was the Friday night. I received a call the Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the office the Wednesday, they asked to come to the office. I went, did the interview, I was successful. I went from Mandeville to Montego Bay to do the interview. Then they asked me when I can start. I tell them, well, anytime. So they gave me my uniform the same day, and I was supposed to report for duty in Negril the next morning at 8.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't know anyone in Negril. I don't know Negril. So I went back to Mandeville, packed my bag, take a taxi, come to Negril the next morning, went straight on the location. And while I was on the location, then I talked to persons to seek accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
This was the Thursday. So I spent the Thursday night at the hotel, which was rooms. And then the Friday afternoon, somebody made a link for me. So I went to the place. Of course, I traveled with money. So I went and paid my rent and I had a place there.
Mm-hmm.
And the Royalton was billing at the time. They was just about to open. So I was at rooms for a while. And on the day when the Royalton was about to open, my manager came, pick me up from rooms and bring me to Royalton and say he wanted me to operate the main gate. And I
Yes.
stayed at the main gate until I left that
Yes.
company.
How long a time span was that?
Just about a year and almost 2 years
So by this time you were fully seasoned in the security
in the security. Yeah, I was
industry.
fully seasoned in the security industry because as I said, I went by the main gate and I went into operation mode immediately because,
Mm-hmm.
it was like 1-2 now because I had years of experience and I've experienced in a different country as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
it was easy.
So how did you eventually make that transition from being employed as a regular officer in these various firms to starting your own business? Walk us through
Well,
that.
okay, well, just as I left Secure, as a matter of fact, I was recruited by MZ Holdings while at um, Secure World, while at Royalton. So I went from the Royalton Hotel to the Azul Hotel. Spent around 3 months there. That's about 2 months. But during this time, I was always saying to myself that I'm in security for a while. I need something else. I need to be in security, but not just a security officer, because I would have worked as a security officer, a senior officer, a supervisor. So I work in all the fields. So I started to check out how to open a company for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I registered on the company's office of Jamaica. It was in 2008. Registered, I know some persons who know the type of work that I did, and I just registered. I put things together, resigned, and decided that I'm going to start my company. Not even getting a contract. I didn't get a contract yet, but then I have the concept of training
Yes.
because I realized that in all my years, persons normally look down on security officers. Even now,
Even
in
now.
most business places, some persons they don't know who the security officer is, or they always look on the security officer as the lowest person. When if you check it out, the security officer is the most important person because anything that happens, he or she is the one that has to report.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell myself, even though I don't have a contract, I will focus on training.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through the hard just syllabus, see what the training was about, educate myself more. And I started to do the training. I registered, I got a registered trainer first, and we went through the syllabus. And I started to train. The first persons I trained three females first, and they were gainfully employed. One
Mm-hmm.
is now a supervisor, and from there, the word started to go out. Because persons know me, so persons started to say, Melbrook have him company, Melbrook doing training,
Mm-hmm.
and the training aspect really worked out because most persons in the industry they're working for years and they don't have a license. And you
Yes.
need to be certified, have your certificate and a license from the PSRA in order to be working. So I went to different locations, hand out flyers, and remind persons of the importance of being
Registered.
certified and
Mm-hmm.
have the license. So
Mm-hmm.
the training went well. And eventually I would start by getting a little one contract here and there, private.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just focused. I always tell myself that I have to remain focused because I want to be at the top of my game where security is concerned, just to make that difference for someone to realize that not because you're a security officer, it doesn't mean that it's not a proper job. Because some persons see it as a hustle and really not as a career, which is
Yes.
wrong. So I always try to encourage persons and focus on the fact that no matter what you're doing, put your all into it because you can reach at the top of the game once you put your all into it. You have to love what you're doing first and, believe because I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
If I never love it, I won't be in it. You have to love what you're doing and focus.
Okay, so the name of your company is Melbrook Security. Remind
Yes,
us of the name.
Melbrook's Security Services.
Melbrook Security Services.
Yes, Melbrook's
So,
Security
so
Services.
you started officially in 2008, you said, right?
2000, yeah, 2000 no, 2018.
18. Okay,
Yes,
2018.
2018. Yeah, man,
Okay.
2018.
So Melbrook Security Services Company started 2018 with training as their focus, and then
That's the main focus.
as you grow, you got some contracts
Contracts,
to do security services for
security
different business
services.
places. How
Right.
has things how has things progressed over the 3 years that you is it 3 year? 3 years because we are now in
Definitely.
2021. How
Yeah,
has
it's
things
just
progressed? How
about
has your
3 years.
business grown?
Well, it has grown, and what I would say in 2020, when it was just about to go in our peak, Corona stepped in. But despite that, I'm still giving thanks because it worked out for us still. Because one thing, when places locked down, everybody need one aspect, and that's security. When they close
Yes,
all the operation, they need
yes.
protection.
Can't
And
just
we
leave the place unattended.
can ever. So we utilize that opportunity. Things could have been better, but we are still giving thanks because we are still a young company.
Mm-hmm.
And there are companies out there with 25 years of experience, the big names, and but we are still doing what we do best, and that is what our motto says: we guard, we protect, we secure. We continue to do that on a day-to-day
Mm-hmm.
basis, and eventually, Melbrook's Security Services, you will be hearing our name in the future when you are talking about the top companies. We are
Mm-hmm.
on our way to be one of the best company in Jamaica, or the best in
Company.
Jamaica, where security is concerned.
Okay. Before we close, could you just give a word of encouragement. You started off at the base level, continued there, gain your experience, but one day had a vision for something greater. How would you advise such a person who probably start at your level to not settle only for that and to dream big? How would you advise such a person as we close?
Okay, as we close, yes, I would say you first and foremost, you must love what you're doing.
Mhm,
Whatever it is, you must have a genuine love for what you're doing. It's not always about the money because starting in security or in any other field at the base level, most times the money is not the way you would want it to be. You
yes.
have to remain focused, love what you're doing, and as I say, tell yourself that you don't want to remain in one position for 10, 15, 20 years. Work yourself up eventually. It will happen once you have the confidence within yourself.
Mhm,
I can remember when I just went in the field of security, there was a friend that went steps with me. And when I saw him, we link up after school and I tell him and I was in security. He gave me a look and I think like you're really gone to dog walk. That was his exact words. And I
mhm.
look into that and I say it doesn't matter because there are a whole lot of persons out there they have subjects there,
And you're
and
not
they're not
employed.
getting the job.
Mhm.
So whatever it is that you're in, focus, believe in God of course, never let him out and just do your best and one day you can reach. You have to set a goal. Tell yourself if you want to be the manager, you want to be the supervisor, you set that goal first. And each day you get up, you work towards that goal. And each day you will be a step closer in reaching that goal. You know.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Omar. So there you have it, guys. Omar Melbrook started off as a regular security officer and worked his way up through the different levels, senior officer, supervisor, until he started his own company, which is doing well. We're going to be putting up his company information there so you can contact Melbrook Security Services if you have any needs for any security services, if your company needs an officer, if you need training in that area, you can contact Omar and he will guide you. All right. Thank you so much, Omar, for sharing your story with us. It was very inspiring. And I know that some person who is listening will be inspired to take it up to that next level and not settle only for the base level. Work hard, work your way up, and also you keep emphasizing you need to love what you do. You keep emphasizing that.
Come on.
Uh, all right, Omar, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you
Until,
as well for having me.
okay. So, viewers, until next time, we will have another inspiring interview for you. Keep safe until we meet again.
Mel Brooks Security Services for professional security guard training and certification of armed and unarmed guards, quality CCTV camera systems, installation and amazing packages to fit any budget. Call 876-541-4477 or 876-559-1414. Visit us at Lighthouse Road, West End Grill. Email melbrooksSEC28@gmail.com. Like us on Instagram, Facebook. Mel Brooks Security Services. We guard, we protect, we secure.
again.